sure you just got asked about this, but I thought it was really interesting. For media night, you mentioned how much the trade here to Kansas City obviously revitalized, but also how you were feeling with the Titans in that game where you really kind of questioning things. What was that like when someone who lives and breathes football, you got to a point where you were really kind of wondering about your place in the game?
It was unfamiliar territory for myself because I've always been a competitor, no matter what. And for me in my head, I'm like, man, the year before, I had 7 or however many touchdowns on a run-first offense, over 1,000 yards, which is not easy to do. And so, when I kind of, stepped into this season with the Titans, I knew it would be different having a different coaching staff, but I really didn't know how different it would be. And, I really wasn't included in the game plan. And, for me, that wasn't anything of like importance because I'm a team player, I'm a role player. But, we weren't winning. And so, for me, it's like, I'm a veteran. I understand that, sometimes it could be me. And
you don't know when your last play is. I mean, you could also, and you got to be playing for something, right? I mean, you're still competing in a Super Bowl.
Right, exactly. And I feel like I still got a lot left. A lot to give to this game, and I love this game, man. And I just want to play some meaningful football, and if not, meaningful football, just be out there, trying to help my team win.
A few months after that, you're in your first Super Bowl. What is this team, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes? What has this meant to you at this point in your career?
Man, it's meant the world to me for this organization to come get me from Tennessee. Really not having a lot of things on film from this year. So for me, man, it's just those guys believe in me. In the first game I played, the first third down, they came to me against the Raiders, which was a big third down. And then, the second game, the rest speaks for itself. I think I might have had, 2 touchdowns. I think my second game here. And so, for me, man, it was like, wow, these guys see something in me that, I kind of almost lost hope in myself.
In terms of your career, you look back, and don't about Houston too much, but you look back at those early years with the Texans, you put up incredible numbers. But that trade, how do you look back on that trade now and how it maybe did affect you for the rest of your career until you ended up at Kansas City being in a Super Bowl?
Man, it's been a blessing, in disguise, that trade, honestly. Very thankful that it happened. I think, as you can see, what happened after the trade didn't work out in their favor. So for me, it's a blessing, man. And I knew it was, something that, would kind of be tough going to a team in Arizona. But, the year I went there, I think, we beat San Francisco for the first time. The second year we started off 8-0, very high, made it to the playoffs, something that Arizona hasn't done in a long time. So, for me, I took it as a challenge, and, I appreciate it. Yeah.
You played with so many quarterbacks, especially early in your career. How do you describe playing with Patrick Mahomes?
Man, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback I've ever played with. I played with some good quarterbacks. I played with Deshaun Watson, who I would say, is one of the best quarterbacks to play this game. But the things Patrick does, man, is incredible. Just his football IQ and how he makes everyone better around him.
Can you talk about Clemson college days? Talk about why you decided on Clemson. What differentiated it from some of the other schools?
Well, I grew up in Clemson, South Carolina, and so for me it was kind of an easy decision. Having my uncle played there, Terry Smith, my cousin Jarvis also played there, and I could hear the stadium from my house. So every time they scored a touchdown, as a kid I could hear it, and so for me that was a thrill. And I could have went to a lot of other colleges. I played defensive back actually in high school, and Clemson really wasn't recruiting me as a defensive back, and so I went to a 7-on-7, and my coach was like, play receiver, and let's see if Clemson's interested. I went out there and played receiver at a 7-on-7, and I had an outstanding 7-on-7, and they offered me after that, which I thought was pretty cool. And I really didn't know anything about 7-on-7 because my hometown high school, we were new to 7-on-7. We were an I formation high school, maybe a year before I got there, so that was new to us, 7-on-7.
You posted a message about being from a small town and trying to kind of inspiring kids and people who follow you. What was kind of the thought behind that? Because you have been through so much to get to this slot, especially considering early in your life.
Man, the thought behind that was, just reminiscing, being a kid who looked up to NFL players. Steve Smith and Randy Moss was 2 guys I looked up to growing up, and we didn't have the technology back then for those guys to put out messages for a young kid like myself. And I was like, man, I wonder what those guys would say if they had a chance to kind of give back in a message. And that's kind of was the thought process behind it, man. Just having the technology for kids to be able to kind of hear a little bit of about myself.
Deandre, I'm talking to your mom tomorrow. I don't know if you've seen her yet or talked to her. What would be your message to her leading up to the Super Bowl?
My mom, what she's doing is incredible. I think she's doing a women's empowering brunch. I'm not exactly sure what day, because she's always busy. But I'll send a message to her, just thank you. Really, that's it, man.
She's always been there for you, supported you. I mean, when you first started with the Texans, people were just blown away by that story. How do you, as you get older, you mature, you go through everything in the NFL, how has that affected you and inspired you to this day?
It's gave me motivation daily to wake up and not complain or make excuses, especially in situations in Houston going through multiple quarterbacks. I saw a lot of the receivers during that time, have a Pro Bowl or All-Pro quarterback, and they were making excuses on things, and I was like, man, my mom doesn't make any excuses, so why am I going to complain about a situation if I'm doing something that I love?
You talked about this being like a childhood dream, so I'm just curious, what is this week been like for you now that it's finally here?
Words really can't describe it. You see this on TV. I've always admired Super Bowl players and Super Bowl teams, and so for myself, it's really words can't describe it. It's one of those things that you just take it in. I would say his football IQ. That's what makes Patrick so special. The guy is smart. I think he understands every defense. He understands players on the defense and their tendencies. And I think just his football IQ. And I think that's why he's going to play this game for a long time.
To hop kind of similar to what you just asked me, but after your career, did you ever think you would get here, and what's it feeling like now that you're finally here?
I did. I knew one day I would be in this position. If it took me 15 years or 20 years, I knew one day I would be playing in the Super Bowl, and I always wanted to prepare my body to be able to play, as long as I needed to get in that game, and I feel like I've done that, prepared, changed certain routines, because this is a 20-something game season when you're playing in the Super Bowl, so your body has to be prepared for that. But I always knew in the back of my head that I would be in this position one day.
How'd you describe your time in Tennessee?
Man, I would say it was amazing. The city of Nashville is home still. I still live there, and post football, I feel like Nashville is going to be home for me. And so, the organization, they treated me well. Miss Amy and Rand and his staff, they were great to me.
I saw what you said the other night about wanting out, coming out of the game in Buffalo, wanting to be traded. Some people made it sound like you were miserable there. You thought it was a sinking ship. Right. Is that fair, or how would you describe it?
No, I wouldn't say I was miserable there. My time there was never miserable. It was actually, some of the highlight of my career playing football, being in Tennessee. Because I'm a type player. I don't ever complain. I don't really look at the records. I play for my teammates and and my coaches. So, I think being able to play with Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs, being able to play with Ronnie Tannehill, being able to play with a young Will Levis and help him develop. I take things like that as a challenge. And, I never complain, but, man, I think being in Tennessee was definitely one of the highlights of my career, even though we didn't get, statistic-wise what we wanted to. I still think it was one of the...
Hey, Chiefs fan! The Super Bowl is right around the corner and Kansas City is locked and loaded. But let's take a moment to talk about one of the smartest moves the team made this season, bringing in Deandre Hopkins. At the trade deadline, the Chiefs pulled off a surprise move, adding the former All-Pro wide receiver to the roster. At first, people thought it was just about adding another weapon for Mahomes. But it turns out, Hopkins has brought something even more valuable: leadership. The league was caught off guard. Sure, Hopkins still has elite skills, but the biggest impact he's had? It's in the locker room. His presence has changed the dynamic of this offense in ways that go beyond the stat sheet. Did you expect Hopkins to be this influential off the field? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Andy Reid knows talent when he sees it. He's coached against Hopkins for years, but even he didn't realize just how much the veteran receiver would bring to this team. In his latest press conference, Reid admitted something interesting. He expected Hopkins to be a great player, but he didn't expect the leadership he's brought. That's a big deal. On a team filled with young weapons, having a veteran who doesn't demand the spotlight is rare. Instead of complaining about not being the #1 target, Hopkins has embraced his role, showing his teammates what it takes to win at the highest level. And that unselfish mentality, it's contagious. The Chiefs' offense has always thrived on spreading the ball around, and Hopkins' willingness to buy in has helped keep things running smoothly. So let me ask you, did you think Hopkins would be this much of a leader when the Chiefs brought him in? Vote below, yes or no. One of the biggest winners from Hopkins joining the Chiefs? Rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy. And it's no coincidence. Worthy has taken a massive step forward in the second half of the season, and a lot of that comes from learning directly from Hopkins. As one of the most technically gifted route runners in the game, Hopkins has been sharing his knowledge: how to set up defenders, how to create separation, how to adjust mid-route. And Worthy? He's been soaking it all in. You can see it on the field. The confidence, the precision. Worthy looks like a different player than he was at the start of the season. That kind of veteran guidance is invaluable, especially for a young receiver in an offense as complex as Andy Reid's. What do you think? Is Worthy the next breakout star for the Chiefs? Let me know in the comments. Now here's the big question. Will DeAndre Hopkins have his moment in the Super Bowl? If history tells us anything, Andy Reid loves to throw in surprises when he has extra time to prepare. Think about it. Reid has a track record of unlocking new wrinkles in his offense when given an extra week. And Hopkins, he's the perfect player to take advantage of that. He's a veteran, he understands defensive coverages, and he knows how to make the most of his opportunities. The opposing defense will already be stretched trying to cover Travis Kelce and the Chiefs' speed threats. That could open up perfect chances for Hopkins to step up when it matters most. Don't be shocked if we see him play a bigger role than we've seen so far. Now it's your turn. How many yards do you think Hopkins will rack up in the Super Bowl? Less than 50? 5,100? Over 100? Drop your vote below. No matter what happens in the Super Bowl, one thing is clear: DeAndre Hopkins has already made his mark on this team. His leadership, mentorship, and professionalism have helped shape the Chiefs' locker room. He's played a key role in developing young talent and adding another dimension to this offense. But here's the big question. Will he be in Kansas City next season? Hopkins is still a high-level player, but with cap space and roster decisions coming up, the Chiefs have to figure out if they can keep him. If he delivers a clutch performance in the Super Bowl, that conversation gets even more interesting. What do you think? Should the Chiefs bring Hopkins back next season? Type yes if you want him to stay, or no if you think it's time to move on.